Intelligent design, why not several designers? I just got done watching your clip. I have to say that actually, you know, you have hit on some things that are actually quite intelligent and you know, really deserve to be looked at and considered. The interesting thing that I have about your video is the fact that you have mentioned and agreed with the creationists that you know about the computer analogy, that if you find a computer in the woods, you would know that someone made it. And then you brought in, well, why not multiple designers and whatnot, because you brought in the human race, that manufacturing, you brought up the fact that with manufacturing you have a designer, but then you have manufacturing, you have people on the production line, you have a whole bunch of people coming together to intelligence coming together to bring these things together, and some ideas lead nowhere, such as the beta video players and whatnot that basically become extinct, and so why not many designers? And then you talked about natural selection, and many of your contemporaries have written to me and told me that natural selection is not random, not by pure accident, not random. And if that's the case, then that must mean that it was done on purpose. And if it were done on purpose, that means that there has to be an intelligence driving it. And so no matter how you turn the coin, if there's an intelligence driving it and it was done on purpose, then that must mean that there's a plan behind it. And that implies intelligence. And therefore we're back to where we began, face to face with an intelligent being, and therefore God. Now, why not many designers? Well, in our world we see many different products, all kinds of different products. We may see the same products or similar products on the market that have very similar uses, yet they are formulated differently. But when you're talking about the product of creation, the laws that govern it, if there were many different designers who were having their input, then I think that we would see a whole lot more chaos and far less organization than we do, because each designer would bring in a different mind to the conception of the product of creation, and that would in turn result in different inputs from different sources, which in turn would create many contradictory principles and laws that cross over and counteract and neutralize one another, and we just don't see that in nature. Not to mention, where you're talking about many minds when the human race coming together to produce something, that's well and good, but you have to understand from the biblical perspective that the one eternal God, the first cause, is eternal and all-knowing. And unlike man, who has only limited understanding, even with all of our heads together, even if we put everybody's brain together in the human race on this planet, from all time, from the very beginning of time to the present day, and we even had the privilege and the advantage of having all the great minds of history, they would not even begin to scratch the surface of the intelligence of this one creator. So many designers aren't necessary with an all-intelligent, all-knowing, all-powerful being. Besides the fact you don't see the confusion that would occur with several different minds putting their own input into the creation at different places and times. It's just too organized and too uniform to have that many sources of influence. But nonetheless, a all-powerful being, an all-powerful, all-knowing God that knows all and is everywhere present, rules out the need for other inputs anyway. Not to mention, again, the laws that are so consistent show that it proceeds from an intelligence that is organized very specifically and stays within very specific parameters of both his spiritual as well as his natural laws. In other words, he's consistent. This is one of the reasons why, in religious circles, why I rejected Muslimism, is because the Muslim God, Allah, you could do an act for him, and one day it would please him, and the next day it might make him angry, or might not please him. It depends on his mood. Where the Christian God is consistent in terms of his position on right from wrong, good from evil, sin and righteousness, and he is no respecter of persons, and what pleased him yesterday pleases him today, and what pleases him today will please him tomorrow, and what angers him yesterday angers him today, and what angers him today will also anger him tomorrow. He is consistent, as is his creation consistent. So you brought up some valid points, and I can see your position, but when you're dealing with an all-powerful, intelligent being, it's not necessary to have more than one designer, because he can do what none of us can do with all of our minds put together. So he far exceeds anything that man can possibly do, even when they're united. But in addition to that, I mean, being all-powerful as he is, now you're going on and talking about, well, it implies we can't teach creation. It's not allowed in schools because it implies an intelligence and therefore a creator. And you've admitted yourself that there's a valid point here from the standpoint of the creationist. I would submit to you that when it comes to science, that if we are really going to apply science for what it was originally intended to do, that we need to be willing, and this goes for the creationist as well, we need to be willing to accept the evidence, the proven evidences that are uncovered by science, and follow that wherever it leads. And if it does lead to an all-powerful creative being, regardless of whether that implies a God or not, if that's where the evidence leads, then in the pursuit of truth, we should not reject that, but embrace that, if we really ever hope to come to understand the true nature of the universe. And so if the evidences do lead to an intelligent being, as you have already admitted, and that things don't happen just randomly, therefore they happen on purpose, and therefore there must be an intelligence behind it. There is, natural selection. You say, well, what's doing the selecting? It either is happening by pure accident, which is such a high mathematical improbability as to be impossible, especially when it has to do it, for everything that we see, it has to do it a million different times to create all the different varieties we see. What's the odds on that? It would be astronomically high against it. But even so, if the evidence leads to an intelligent source of things, then we need to be willing to embrace that evidence, and as willing also teach it as science. We don't have to imply what God is what. We don't have to say, well, it's the Muslim God or it's the Christian God or this or that. Just, if the evidence leads to a creator or an intelligent source, in the spirit of true science, then we should teach both evolution and creationism side by side, and teach creationism without implying any particular God, and allow the students to judge for themselves and decide for themselves what the evidence suggests, and they can go from there. But to reject scientific knowledge because it implies a creator or an intelligent source, and therefore implies a creator, is not only poor science, but it asks the whole question of where we came from. The whole question of where we came from is just a waste of time in that case, if we're going to reject that scientific knowledge because it does point to a creator. If it points to a creator scientifically, then so be it.